We're out here in the carriage house looking at plans for a diamond bottom catboat. We're using these plans drawn by Howard Chappell as a reference. This plans are for a 17-foot boat, and we're looking to do a 16-foot boat. So the first thing we needed to do was come down and change some of the scale on here for 16. This would normally be a 1 inch equals 1 foot scale, using this handy little scale up here. This little section here, each little line going up and down is 1 inch, so you can figure out your feet's inches, and then there if you want to guess down to eighths. We're just trying to get a rough guess on things. So the scale still works, but the lines don't work, so we redrew some lines today. We're having to scale to get 16 foot. We're having to scale everything down by 0.94, and then in addition to that, this boat had a 9 foot, over a 9 foot beam, so we're also having to scale that down because I only want an 8 foot beam, because I think there's some states where you can't even tow your boat down there if it's more than that. But that 16, the catboat generalities are half the beam to the length, so about 8 foot ought to work for us. So we're trying to take this as the new shear that we drew, trying to interpolate off of this older one. And so we took 4 or 5 different measurements off of that before we finally said, okay, this is how we need to do it, which was just draw the new line but use the scale off of the map. That works going this way. We'll have to draw more, so we set our lines like 15, 16 off of what the other lines were. So all that turned into laying out a baseline on the floor along the where the floor planks, the 4x8 sheets of plywood are lined up, and then we're calling them stations. Every foot we put down a mark for 3 feet all the way down to 16, and then we took the shear measurements. We gave ourselves about 3 inches for an inner stem, so that's why it doesn't come down to the edge of the so 1.5 inches on either side. And then we started every foot putting little screws in the floor, and then we bent this batten around it. And now we've got something that looks kind of like a close to a shear we'd see on a catboat. A little bit more body up front, and then follows a curve, and then the last couple of feet just straightens out and runs all the way back. It's going to give us a transom that's 2 feet 10 3/4 inches times 2. Y'all do the math. So that's getting close to 6 feet wide. So this, what you're seeing, is only half of the boat here. And once again, up here at the midships, this 4 foot wide section will be doubled. It'll become 8. Hold a little bit more of the beam, and then it starts coming together up in the eyes of the boat. So let's see. Mast step shows to be up in between stations 1 and 2. So catboat, the mast step's going to be way up here in the bow of the boat. One of the ways they built these boats is to get this shape up front was some builders just had a solid wooden block up there, and that made a pretty sturdy mast step, because mast steps do become an issue with these boats. There's a lot of things going up in the bow there, so there's a lot of forces in play. The coming back 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet back on the plans, right around station 5, which is right here. Need a better pointer than my foot. So starting there and running back all the way back to station 14, which is about where the red sunfish starts, is where that's all going to be cockpit. So we'll lay this, I'll get Skipper's approval on this shear line if she likes it. I'll draw the line inside of that. That line is drawn to inside of the plank on the plan. So what you see here, if the plank's about the same width, about 3/4 inch or so, that we're showing on this batten, that'd actually be going over 8 feet out here. So what I'll probably do is bring everything in an inch, so that when everything's done, maybe even a little more, because I'm going to have a plank and then I might have a rub rail on it, but we'll figure all that out. Then we'll come in and we'll draw a similar line for the chine. So the shear is the top edge of the side of the boat, the chine's the bottom edge. This boat is kind of slab sided, but it's not, there's not much slab to it. It's only about 8 inches of freeboard, and then it goes into a diamond bottom, which is just a V bottom. Think old wooden sunfish, or think new fiberglass sunfish. A little chine and then straight run from the chine down to the keel. So we'll draw the shear line inside of that, and then from those measurements I can take we can start defining these shapes right here, like on the transom, the shear, the chine, down to the keel with that little bit there, then a center line, and we can actually cut the transom out based on that, and then we'll go and cut every 3 or 4 feet or so. We're going to cut a mold, which is just a form that we can then bend the side around, and then that's kind of what it'll look like. Sides very thin, and then the planks just running straight, or maybe just a little bit of a diagonal. It's going to cross planked, so that's what makes this boat unusual. The builders could probably knock them out in a few days, bringing home scrap lumbers from the lumber yard there in Pascagoula, and the little short pieces, there wasn't a whole lot of use for them, so they could use those 4-foot pieces to plank the boat instead of needing a 16-foot long plank. So that's what we're working on. We hope y'all are having a good time, and maybe have a chance to thinking about designing something or getting ready to build something, gathering a spot in your living room or garage and grab your coffee cup and screw gun if you got it, and have a good time.